What's going on, everybody? It is me, your boy Flash Jones, back again with another video. And in this one, this is your March update 2022. So, all that being said, let's get to it. So, here in the opening shot, as you guys can see, got a set of containers here. Looking here into the background, you can see I've got a string of them kind of laid out in some sort of fashion here. And what I'm looking at, what you guys are looking at actually, is I'm trying to, in my mind, because again, this, I don't have an official track plan for this layout. This is kind of a freehand, go as I plan as I go, but a lot of planning went into it, mainly internally. Nothing was ever put on paper or onto computer. This is all internal, and everything's visualized in my mind of how I think it should be. And what, like I said, what we're looking at right now, obviously, stack of containers here, the string of containers back there, and all of the ones back there, and whatever have you, is what I'm trying to determine at this point is how exactly do I want to run my ramp. My ramp, if you don't know what a ramp is, typically in intermodal facilities or yards, they have what is considered the ramp. The ramp is where these trailers or containers are loaded and uploaded using a crane of some sort. Now I want to say 3 of these my jacks and 2 of the crane that just kind of comes up and it has the 4 wheels, but it doesn't look like this is the other kind of crane. It's like a Kymar crane. I forget what they call it. Okay, good. Go ahead and turn the lights on and so you guys can go play. Okay, I'll be out there in a minute. Sorry about that. I forget, like I said, I forget what the name of that other crane is. It's like a Kymar crane. Essentially, it comes up on the wheels. It looks kind of like a piece of heavy, not heavy equipment. Hold on. Sorry, this is what I was talking about. Kymar crane. I couldn't remember what the heck it was called. But anyways, so like I said, I got 3 of these my jacks, 2 of the Kymars, and on your ramp is, like I said, where you would typically unload and load your cars at. And my initial thought, and I'll go ahead and share with you guys. Let me give you a little swing around here. So, and we'll talk about my whole setup going on. I'll give you a wide shot here. So first of all, as you guys see, I have these tracks here on the outside, kind of where all of these wires and the block detectors are. You kind of can see these tracks poking out. These are 2 of the looped kind of staging storage tracks that I will be using in the layout, kind of just as a storage yard, but it's storage loops for really mainly manifest cars. Those tracks will come in and they'll join back up into the control point here. Now I will have it set up so that final track, whatever the outside track is, will have a switch and it'll split off and it'll start straddling the back mains back there, and they'll split off into 2, likely possibly 3 separate yard ladder leads, or leads that will stem off into a ladder lead, and they will circle their way around to my area that I'm calling my ramp. Now I'm only gonna have maybe 4 possibly, possibly just 4 ramp tracks. And I know that might sound like a small amount for the amount of space that's here. The ramp tracks are just specifically where I said, where you have your loading and unloading, where you have your paved tracks, if you will. If you guys remember that video that I made some years ago of how to make paved tracks, that's what my ramp will look like. The tracks in the center will be paved between the tracks and on the outside, so trucks can drive up and down beside the rail. That's my ramp. Now there will be tracks that are not considered ramp tracks, more like storage tracks, if you will, that obviously bare table cars that will be stored there for when the ramp needs those cars we put in there to make another intermodal train. But as I was saying, my thought process is right now, where do I want the ramp to be exactly? Because clearly I have space here in the middle, which is kind of hard to tell with the containers there are, but you can see I can have that ramp more so in the center of the layout, or I can have the ramp closer to the back portions of the layout, or closer to the front end of the layout. Front end, but obviously probably be a little bit easier as far as loading and unloading, considering it's much easier and much closer to the front, and I can reach things a whole lot easier. But if it is in the back, it could possibly make it harder to see trains going back and forth on these back mains, which that's not really an issue, a problem to me, or it's not going to bother me per se, because not that this layout's going to be very prototypical. Obviously, you don't have 4 main tracks that are on the same river that are in this close of proximity. 4 tracks, especially 3 tracks possibly, but they're all going in one direction and bidirectionally, obviously, but they're not looping around each other. Nevertheless, preaching to the choir on that. If these tracks back here are in a manner of speaking hidden, that's fine. But I'm not going to try to hide them. That's just by design. If they get hidden or blocked and skewed, then so be it. I will have a backdrop that I will put up here, and that's coming later down the line. We won't talk about that in this video. But I'm starting to think that my ramp's either going to be in the middle or it's going to be closer to these front 2 mains. Now, the next thought that I had is, because the initial plan and thought was to, just as I have storage tracks going in back here, which you can see where these the wood tie and the concrete tie section, where these kind of go around and come back in over here, just within the same breath, I was gonna have something very similar. Sorry if you get dizzy there. To having storage loops back here. Now I obviously can still very easily do that and have these tracks come on up and terminate inside this OS back here. But the problem with that is it will absolutely take away on space from having an intermodal yard and an intermodal ramp. That's not, I don't want this layout to just be jam-packed with track, because in my mind it can start to kind of get unorganized and just look like a bowl of spaghetti all in one line, if you will. That's one thought. But the second thought is way up there where we started at the beginning of this video. If where the track splits off and I get my leads coming in back in this area, and I get a ladder that starts up there that gives me 3 leads, and they break off into individual tracks in this area, and they start to run down this straightaway, I can have one track on the very outside that straddles the main, that would run right beside the main and kind of loop all the way around and comes all the way back. Sorry, I can't see. Comes all the way back here in the front and runs its way all the way back, so that at least there's one complete turnaround track outside of the main. I don't know if that's necessary, considering you have the main lines that will give you that turnaround, if you will. But at least by doing that, if no matter where the ramp is, and that's why I was saying initially I was thinking to have the ramp in the back, because I could have a train pull in and start cutting cars, where these string of containers are. I could have them starting to cut their train up inside those tracks. Like I said, I usually sleep and pray and ask God to give me guidance, and which is why this layout has turned into what it is, instead of a center layout, which there'd be space on both the outsides to walk around the outer perimeter of the layout. This is what God has brought me to now, and I'm going to stay on that path that he's showing me down, because it's what his ideas are better than what I initially wanted, which was something extremely simple, just to get me trains running. Nevertheless, that's what I'm thinking, and I'm starting to lean more towards having my ramp in the middle, and maybe having one outside track that does run the outside, but for the sole purpose of it being a turnaround track where train could pull in off the main, and it'll pull all the way back up towards, as it kind of comes in, say train's coming this way towards the camera, it'll come all the way down, turn around at the very end of the layout, and it'll pull back out and come back around towards this OS, and it'll shove its train in to the ramp tracks to be unloaded or loaded if it's a bare table train. Nevertheless, that's kind of what I'm going towards, and that way I can still have at least one additional track. I'm running that outside because I want to put in some roads. Obviously, I can't just have a bunch of track everywhere. I need to have roads put in so that things look believable and somewhat realistic. Continuing on with the update, we'll push this little train out of the way. And as you guys can see, I've painted. I've done a lot of painting As you guys saw, you might have been able to see it here in the opening shots there and throughout the video. I had some paint there off to the side and looking down at the track. I don't paint my track. I don't see it as, for me, again, scenery is not really my forte. Making things look good as far as the track and elevating and getting things like that, when I really put the time in, I feel like that's where my strong suit is, and getting the planning and the wiring and stuff like that. I feel like in my mind I can get those things done fairly well. I'm not gonna say great because I don't like bragging, but I feel like I can get that done fairly well with ease, at least for me personally. So one thing that I did do is I did come through and I did paint all of the pink foam, just a mixture of colors. I wasn't really going for a brown. It just kind of came out to be brown, so it's fine with me. Again, that's fine because mud is typically brown and there's some gray sprinkled in there. And I did kind of come through, as you guys can see, and paint in between the tracks, and I did paint up on the road bed there, so that whenever we do start to ballast, I don't have to worry about pink foam being visible under my ballast and having to try to cover it up with different colors or whatever have you, or trying to paint it with an airbrush or anything like that. So it's already pre-painted, so whatever ballast I choose, gray or red or whatever have you, whatever goes down, it ought to look it ought to be able to conceal and make it look like track and whatnot. Obviously some paint did get up on the ties, that's fine. Again, once it's ballasted, you'll never see that. Real quick, I did get the rest of my bench work in, so all of my bench work is now up. This is the last portion of bench work. I do have some foam that I'm going to be spraying in these gaps to solidify them. Not that they're really big and that I really need to, but they're just, I don't know, I might do that and then get that painted off. And like I said, this is more than likely going to be the area that I have for my passenger equipment. Not that I'm really into passenger, it's just that I like running passenger trains, especially my Metro. So that's, I'll probably end up doing that. Next, some interesting developments on my crossovers. So last I talked to you guys, I was waiting on Walthers to come in with their number 6 switches. I think maybe sometime in the middle of this March, sometime at the end of February, very early March, potentially. I'm gonna say very early March, I think. Walthers got in their number 6s and their 4s and 5s. Now their price is a little higher. I'm trying to go through a local hobby shop to see if I can get from them at a reduced price, because Walthers wants $30, and the local hobby shops that I typically go to, they're in between the $20 and $25 range for at least these specific switches, especially these from 6 and down. They're all in under $25, but as soon as you get to the number 8s and the 10s, I want to say it bumps up to like 26, maybe. I can't remember. I haven't bought 8s in a long time. But nevertheless, that's typically where the 8s are. So in that meantime, and I had always been thinking, do I seriously need double crossovers at every single control point for this layout? This layout is a decent size, but it's not huge and it's not big enough that I think I need double crossovers for the entire, at 4 control points throughout this entire layout, especially considering that I have removed the entire thought of having a double or having loops on both ends of the layout as far as storage track loops. So I'm not going to put in a loop on the inside of this track for the sole purpose of it being a turnaround or storage track that terminates inside the OS. That will not be there. If there is a loop, like I said earlier in this video, it will be a turnaround track for the yard specifically, so that trains can come in, pull the train around, and then shove it in to the tracks that they need to go to. And then obviously the rest of these tracks will start to funnel down and they'll terminate with bumpers, probably right where before the layout ends, and I'll have some stuff. And then all excess containers like these ones here in the middle, these excess containers, more than likely I'll get some pavement down, and I'll kind of divvy it up to have like storage area for the containers. And you know, there'll be a train, that turnaround train, and trains on the main lines that'll be pulling around them to come into the yard and be put away. So I don't feel like I necessarily need those number 6s, because I had the double crossovers from these number 6 double mainline double crossovers, but also just your normal 1 to 2, 2 to 1 crossovers for each control point. So if I go with this setup now with just a single one way, and that would be I gotta get my mind straight, that would be that would be a 1 to 2 westbound crossover back there, and then in the front have a double crossover to go to and from, primarily for the idea that I need my trains, my passenger trains, to be able to get off the main no matter which track they're on, because passenger always has priority over freight. So no matter which track they're on, they can obviously easily always cross over and go into their yard, which will be back there. Okay, so looking back at this side, then in the front, on this portion, the front end of the layout, there will be a single, what does that be, if you're westbound on, shoot, is that one, if you're westbound on 1 again, you could cross over and go into the yard. That'll be right here. I got to get my numbers right again. I can't remember if that's 1 or if that'll be 2. But nevertheless, in the very back, in this back corner, again, instead of having number 6 is all of these, since I'm only doing it this way now, using a one-way crossover, you have to only be westbound, essentially, to pull into the siding and come back out. I'm sorry, the siding, the storage yard right here, and come back out over here. And so and obviously if you're no matter how it works out, we'll figure out how to get trains crossed over to get in and out of the storage yard. But nevertheless, utilizing the number 6 that I already bought in conjunction with the number 8s that are no longer needed, because I'm only doing one-way crossovers at 2 of the control points, I now have an excess of these number 8s that I now have available to me. And with that, I have, this is a full number 8 set. So we have number 8 west 1 to 2, and then a number 8 2 into the yard. And on this back end, you have number 6 mainline crossovers. I know it's a little bit backwards to have tighter switches as your mainline crossover and a much bigger switch to go in the yard. It is what it is. With everything going up, as we all know, I'm gonna kind of conserve and save where I can. And as maybe unprototypical as it is, I'm willing to live with that. And so we'll have double number 6 crossovers running into a number 8 that takes you into the yard, and I'm okay with that. And like I said, by doing so, it's going to allow me to save on having to purchase 4 number 6 switches left and right for both the yard that would stem off and run around this way and come back in right here. And so I need 2 for here and then 2 for the other side. So that saves me $80 at minimum. And if I get it from Walthers, 4 times 3, that's 12. So $120 from Walthers if I get them direct from Walthers. That's $100 I can go towards anything else railroad related or to the family. So nevertheless, that's where we are right now. Like I said, we showed you the bench work, showed you the plan and the thought process, track plan wise, with the OSs, my control points. And then we did look at these containers here, and if you guys can determine what kind of containers these are, kudos to you, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong in the comment section. Other than that, guys, if you guys don't mind, I would like to get some comments and some feedback and some thoughts on how to run my intermodal ramp yard area. Just I feel like I need some direction, and as I always say, guys, I absolutely do not mind and want to hear you guys' feedback. Have all my switches laid out here. These are all switches that are from my previous layouts. Some of them probably won't be able to be used, like this one. I'll never again glue a switch down, but some of these switches have a lot of kind of gunk up under them that's not allowing them to lay flat. So that is what it is. I'll try to get them cleaned up. But like there's this big one back here. I think this one is, no, not that one. There's one here that's got like some what's the name stuck to it, like a piece of cork or something like that. But like, again, as I said, I'm not going to glue any more switches down. I'll have them temporarily spiked in, or I'll use like some stick glue, like like kids craft glue, to try to hold them in place with the spikes to hold them in place. But I'm never going to glue them down again, just in case I ever want to remove them. Nevertheless, that's where we are. Again, I have everything as it was before, cars and whatever have you, kind of just thrown in place. Oh yeah. So that's that. Coming in hot. All right. Nice landing. Anyways, so guys, that is it for this video. That's it for March. I don't know where we're going to be at when it comes to April. But this is what we're looking at right now. Okay, and yeah, we'll go from there. Hopefully I'll have some big developments or some new news. Obviously maybe have a full mainline run possible here in the future, but at least going forward, my thought, and these are some of those extra number 8s that I no longer have use for, essentially, right there. Maybe I'll try to figure out how to get those on a flat car as like an extra switch. But nevertheless, plans to get tortoises in. I did get a bunch of products from RR Circuits so that I can start getting the more of the electrical side of this completed to get more things done on that end. I will be getting some more lighting in eventually to give more lighting to the layout. But for now, guys, this is your March update, and I will catch you guys in the next one. So then, I hope you guys had a good St. Paddy's Day. Of course, as you know me, God bless you. Hope that God keeps you guys protected out there, dealing with whatever life has to throw at you. Till next time, guys, keep it on the rails. It's your boy Flash Jones. I'm out.